It's a battle raging in the nation's capital and several states around the country. Should marijuana be legal? Earlier, News 13's Kristen Kane went in depth with our legal analyst Mark NeJame to discuss the push to legalize pot and asks if it could become legal right here in Florida.
A bill to legalize medical marijuana fell short in both the House and the Senate this session. However, the bill's House sponsor said she plans to file the bill again next year. So we want to get a little insight about this. News 13's legal analyst Mark NeJame is here to answer a few questions. Nice to see you, too. Let's start by talking about marijuana. Still technically illegal under federal law. How is it that a state can override that law?
Well, a state really can't override it. What a state can do is have separate laws. What I think a lot of people fail to recognize and realize that you can have federal jurisdiction and you can have state jurisdiction. And they can be in competition with each other. There can be a conflict there. And I think we see that right now in the federal system. All marijuana is still illegal in the federal system. However, as we know, many states have gone ahead and legalized it either for recreational use, which is only a couple, or medical use, which are many more. So I think that what you are finding now is that the Obama administration is having a step down. They're simply saying they are not going to enforce the state marijuana laws as they relate to medical marijuana. And I think that it's probably a wise thing, because you can't very well have the state saying, we're going to have a small amount that we're accepting, and then the feds come in and make an arrest. And typically those small amounts are not what the feds would ever go after in the first place. Now,
you just touched on this briefly. I want to talk about it a little bit more. 18 states and Washington, D.C., they have passed medical marijuana legislation. Why do you think those laws were able to get through?
Well, I think very simply you have a more liberal, a more open-minded constituent than you find in many other states, including Florida. I think we saw that recently the House and the Senate both rejected this, and we still have a very conservative contingency in Florida.
Yeah.
And I think that it takes a lot of courage for a lot of politicians to come forward and saying we need to change this a bit. And when you speak to a lot of people in law enforcement, the higher-ups and such, they will tell you that they believe that this is a failed policy to continue to prosecute small marijuana cases. It costs an incredible amount of money of taxpayer resources to go after these cases. And even law enforcement from the state attorney's office to local police agencies are really not enforcing it in a great amount a lot of times. So I think very simply that it's moving in that direction. I think the first door will be medical marijuana, and then at some point over the years, people will consider whether they wanted to go beyond that.
Well, let's take it one step further. We know that Colorado and Washington, they have both legalized recreational use of marijuana for adults. I mean, does that set a precedent now for other states in the future?
Well, it could. I mean, to the extent that it's not a legal precedent, but I think you're going to simply find that a lot of states, once that door is opened, then they'll simply evaluate it over time. I don't think you're going to see recreational marijuana in Florida anytime soon.
Right.
And there's a legitimate debate about that, and that is that you open the doors to, you know, too much going on. But on the other hand, if we know that it's far less harmful than a lot of things which are totally illegal, and we also know that it truly helps people in certain medical conditions, I think we're going to find in the very near future medical marijuana being accepted in Florida. And then over the years, there'll be a determination made by the electorate whether personal use would be permitted or not. But I think that you're not going to even have that discussion taking place in Florida as it relates to personal use, recreational. I think you will have heated and appropriate debate over the medical marijuana. Medical marijuana clearly helps people in given circumstances. The challenge is that once that door is opened, you find, like in California, every street corner has marijuana dispensaries.
Exactly.
and people go in there and they're, you know, getting false scripts or whatever from their doctor, who are very open-minded, and they're getting marijuana. You know, if you go into those places, what's on the shelves is much like going into a grocery store and seeing varieties of sodas.
Right. All right, News 13's legal analyst Mark NeJame, thanks for coming in. Pleasure.